Hey, what's up, everyone? This is James Cairns. I am representing Yes You Can Sports Corner Battles. It's a ball hockey segment of the Yes You Can Sports social media or Instagram that Ken has come up with. And what I'm going to do is talk about ball hockey. What is ball hockey? The requirements to play, the levels of play, etc., etc. And this is week one, and let's get into it. So, what is ball hockey? Ball hockey, a lot of us will remember it as we used to play on the streets and play with our friends and stuff like that. Since then, ball hockey has evolved dramatically over the years. You're able to compete at the world championship levels with governing bodies such as WBDHF and ISBHF. They're the two entities at the top of the food chain, so to speak, um, in the World Ball Hockey Championships. WBDHF being Ball Deck Hockey Federation, and ISBHF being International Street and Ball Hockey Federation. Okay, that's where you want to be if you're one of the top players, elite players in the world. You want to play at the highest level. You want to play for your country, etc. There is some political values tied to that, where people feel that some people from Canada represent certain countries, like whether it be Greece, India, Pakistan, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia, stuff like that. These players, I think, it's to me, it's not actually an issue because if they, as long as they have that heritage, that background, their ancestry comes from those countries, I believe they should be allowed to play at a heritage level because let's face the more we can involve the people playing, the more the game evolves, the better and bigger the game gets. I get it. You want someone specifically, say from India, you want them to be Indian, but there is a lot of Indian-born players in Canada that have developed and grown the sport here themselves and may never get a chance to play if those rules are applied. Um, so I think it's great that their parents are from India, and I'm just using India as an example. I just recently played against them at the WBDHF World Championships in Dominican Republic, and their parents are from India, so they have that heritage, that lineage, where they should be eligible to play, whether they live in Canada, the U.S., or another country. They should have that right to play. That's just my personal opinion. So again, ball hockey has evolved from the streets. So you may think of it as just running around with a tennis ball or an orange ball on the streets and stuff like that. But now it's played in major venues. It's played on sports floors. It's played on concretes and arenas. It's basically everywhere, and I love the fact it's one of my favorite sports, if not my favorite sport. And I love the fact that Ken has given me the opportunity to talk about that and share that with you. For some of you that already play the sport, maybe I'll be able to give you a little more insight and explain a little more in the sport. And for those of you that are new and have no idea what it's about or how it's evolved, um, I'm gonna enlighten you on that too, and it should be interesting. Should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to deliver the messages and the insight for the sport with you. The requirements to play, so it varies basically where you play. So in Ontario, I'd say Ontario, actually across Canada, sometimes even the U.S. The standard of playing or requirements to play is the equipment. So you need a helmet. Most places you require a helmet now. A pair of gloves, so they can be the bulky hockey gloves. I myself use the Napper gloves, or a lot of people like to use lacrosse gloves as an alternative. I used lacrosse gloves for years until I got introduced to Napper products, and then I went to Napper gloves. Um, also, shin pads. I recommend wearing shin pads. A lot of leagues do require it now, especially in Ontario. And shin pads I recommend simply because that orange ball does get hard. Slap shots coming at you. The higher level you play, usually the harder the slap shots are. And if you're in front of the net, you don't want to be banged up by sticks and stuff like that, and slashes, taking slashes, etc. So you got to go to work the next day. Ball hockey is a great sport, and a lot of people love participating in it. But we don't want to be killing people out there and hurting people, and they can't go to their jobs or enjoy the family life, etc. Um, and the levels of play. So I already mentioned the World Championships. That's where you want to be. A lot of players strive to play in the Worlds and want to be on Team Canada, Team USA. There's a whole list of teams. I can go over that in another segment where I can talk about the World Championships, my experiences being there and playing there, as well as what it's like at that level, what to expect, right? Where a lot of leagues that you may play in now won't tolerate certain aspects like the contact. Stick work should never be used. So even at the world level, stick work is usually called, and it's not something you want to be doing. Slashing people, in the toes, the hands, slashing sticks out of their hand, etc. But the physical play is allowed at the world level, and it's not like line a guy up and take him out at center, but a lot of rub outs and banging in the corner and stuff like that, and it can get pretty physical at that level. So I'd love to share in future videos with you guys what that's about, maybe even some highlights of how that goes down and what it looks like to participate at the world level if you have not seen already. Newly introduced, and this is something recent, is the elite level. So for years it used to be tier 1. Tier 1 was always the top level, and you a lot of players would strive to play tier 1, or if you weren't that caliber of player and you ran teams, you always try to get those tier 1 players on your team, and those are the top dogs. Okay, so and let me explain a little bit about tier 1. Tier 1 is a level. Okay, a lot of people can play tier 1, but they're not necessarily a tier 1 player. So with that being said, or an explanation, is that a lot of teams build, including at the world level, they build themselves on what they need to succeed. So if you have two lines, so 6 players of forwards that are skilled, you may need that grinder, that guy that'll battle, that guy that'll go get the ball and feed these highly skilled players with the ball. And they may not necessarily be at a tier 1 level. They may be in a tier 2 level, a tier 3 level. And they can play and compete at a tier 1 level based on their skill set or the attributes they bring to that level. So those players, yes, they are playing tier 1, they're playing the tier 1 level, but they're not necessarily a tier 1 player. And I think a lot of you that play the sport can actually recognize a player that can, that's a tier 1 player. Just like, oh my God, that guy's incredible. That guy's nasty. Like, you can recognize a tier 1 player where you may not necessarily recognize the tier 3 or tier 2 player that plays tier 1. I know it can get a little confusing because the label's there. That player plays tier 1, so he's a tier 1 player. Over the years, what you can do is you can play that level, so you can be a C player or a B player or a tier 2, tier 3 player, and you can play those levels and evolve into a tier 1 player, right? But it's not necessarily just because you played one season tier 1, all of a sudden you're a tier 1 player. That's not how it works. But again, we're going to go through the rankings here. I'm not here. This is my personal opinion. I think a lot of you may agree that are in the ball hockey world that that's how it works, and I'm just trying to shed some light on how things work. So the levels again: World Championships, then elite, and elite was offered. There's elite in the NBHL, which is a ball hockey um, league run through the states, and elite now has been introduced into Canada as well. In the Hamilton Ball Hockey League, I see elite being listed, and I'm sure there's other places I'm just not aware of right now. Those are just ones I can think of off the top of my head. And then now it's World Hockey, World Ball Hockey Championships, Elite, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, etc., etc., etc. And how those equate to other leagues or provinces, etc. So Tier 1, Division A or Division 1. In Niagara, they use divisions. They also use, so Division A in Hamilton, Division B in Hamilton, Division 1 in Niagara, Division 2 in Niagara. Um, and then in Quebec, they use H1, H2, H3. Okay, so it varies from each province or from each region, to be exact. Uh, a Division 1 team, let's say in Niagara, um, will not or is not directly compared to a Tier 1. Yes, we'd all love it to be the same, everything level, but it's not necessarily a Division 1 equals a Tier 1 in Toronto. Sure, they'd like to be Tier 1 level, but you have teams like, for example, Midnight Express, one of the most decorated teams in ball hockey history, as far as tournaments, awards, and stuff like that. And that team, um, if you put them against a D1 team in Niagara, I mean, the Niagara boys are going to put up a fight, but Tier 1, Midnight Express, and Hollywood Express, and teams like that from Toronto, um, they're very, very talented. It's just a higher level. It's a different level than a Division A in Hamilton, a Division 1 in Niagara. Just like Quebec, H1, H2, H3, like these are different levels. So it would be nice to see the sport grow that dramatically in regions like Hamilton and Niagara, and I'm just using the Ontario uh, uh, regions because that's where I'm from. And like these teams, I'd love for them to get to that level to be able to compete against Midnight, and it would be awesome to see because I know the talent's there. It's just a matter of getting everyone on the same page and being able to grow the game in those regions. And it's not just about the players and their skill sets. It comes down to the league itself, the reffing um, that they represent, and I mean the reffing has to be at that level. If they're not allowed to play at the same levels as the Toronto Tier 1 teams or the Quebec H1 teams, then they can't play or they can't compete, and it just makes it a vicious cycle, and it's hard to explain as well. I'm trying my best here, but it's just different levels based on different regions. You have different talent, different skill sets, different reffing, different leagues, and it's just different. So it's great to see leagues and tournaments and stuff like that happen where everyone's competing at the same levels, and to see where they stand, and you know what, it creates a kind of a rivalry. You know, we'd love to see like Niagara teams knock off Toronto teams, or London BHI teams, Brantford BHI teams, you know, competing in Niagara tournaments and Hamilton tournaments. It's just awesome to see, and I love the growth of the sport and what's happening with it. It's definitely evolving. NBHL, I touched on that lightly. That's uh, the National Ball Hockey League that's held in the States, and they do a great job. They have the Milat Cup every year, which is basically their nationals. Canada, we have our provincials, we have our nationals. Um, but in the NBHL, they have the Milat Cup, and that's basically each region or each state has their champion, and they all go and meet in the Milat Cup, and they all fight for basically supremacy. And in the states in NBHL, they use a tier system, so it's tier one, tier two, tier three, and those are the levels you'd compete there. And yeah, that's about it for episode one. I hope I gave some sort of insight on things I'll be talking about, and please feel free to either DM me or DM Yes You Can Sports. And if you have any questions, if you would like things talked about or reflected on, also you can leave a comment below, whether I was crap or if you liked it or you think it's going to be interesting. Whatever you'd like to do. I mean, I'm hoping to have a lot of fun with this and help grow the channel or the program, and and give some insight on different aspects of the sport, whether it be densities of balls, what sticks to use. Oh, and that's part of sorry, requirements to play. Actually, I didn't even mention sticks. Obviously, you need sticks. It's ball hockey. But yeah, stuff like that. Plays. What would I do in certain scenarios? Um, all that type of stuff. So please feel free to reach out to myself, Ken, and we look forward to hearing from you. And yeah, that's week one, guys, and see you in week two. Not too sure what we'll talk about, but like I said, if you have any comments or questions or would like to have an episode that we review something or talk about something, please let us know and we'll do our best to get to it. All right, thank you, and we'll talk to you guys again. Peace.